From the Marquee Media Studio inside Mark Tank, it's the Mark Haney Show.
You know, this is the final episode of our Most Valuable Towns series, and I think you're going to appreciate it. We had the people from Greater Sacramento Economic Council come on here, but this has been really a series of like 12 shows in a row, and one of the things I've discovered, if you will, or I had reaffirmed throughout these shows. I mean, we've talked to City of Folsom, Placer County, Yolo County, El Dorado County, City of Rockland, City of Roseville, Rancho Cordova, City of Elk Grove, and now we have Trolls back on with Greater Sacramento, who oversees all of the Sacramento region and their economic development efforts, along with Barry Broom and their team. And one of the things I've discovered is we have some great people in this region. And I think I always feel like in winning, the big question is, what are you going to do with what you got? And we start by having great people, but we also have this collaborative spirit within the Sacramento region that it's becoming more collaborative. I call it this culture of love, right? I'm trying to build the most connected community in the world for local entrepreneurs, centered around this culture of love, and that's the backyard advantage as I see it. So what are you going to do with what you got? You assemble people together, you start looking at where people are coming from and seeing if you can imagine a puzzle that is a better place than what it is today. And my vision is really this thing that I'm trying to manifest in my own backyard, this group of business leaders, business partners that all love each other, and they want to work together hand in hand because they love one another, right? They want to help one another, not only help them with their own businesses and their own efforts, but help all of Sacramento and really drive growth throughout the region. That is coming together, and the backyard is physically done, the new backyard at Haneyville, and so I will have that group together in September of this year. And I'm excited about that because it's fun to sort of manifest these things. And for me, the vision is very compelling. And I know to a few others on my team and within my business network, it's very, very compelling, this idea of working together. And I think we can all sort of visualize what that backyard is going to look like and really starting to imagine how it might reshape all of Sacramento. So I hope you enjoy our final episode of our Most Valuable Towns.
We are probably one of the most special communities in the United States of America. And I'm not just saying that because now I'm, a Sacramentan. I live in Placer County. I absolutely love it here. But we offer unique talent. We offer an amazing schools, amazing amenities that you don't get in other states in the United States. And so, we have a MSA population of 2.7 million people. We have immense access to higher education. We have William Jessup University, Sacramento State University, University of California, Davis, all the way to Berkeley, the Bay Area. We're only an hour and a half drive. So when we're attracting and recruiting companies, the most important thing to them is, do I have access to talent? Mm-hmm. And if I have access to talent, I can move my business here and I can expand. So your economies thrive on how your university systems perform.
What, in your guys' minds, either one of you or both, what are the most valuable assets that we have beyond the great place to live, beyond the history and a lot of the culture? What are some of the other valuable assets that rest right here in the downtown area?
Started off, one of the things that I think we take for granted is the incredible environment we have from a residential standpoint. We've got people that want to live in the urban core. We're seeing what are alternatives to simply relying only on office, being that office will dominate us for years to come as it relates to the importance of that market. But if not just office, what else? We're seeing residential come in larger numbers. People saying, I don't need two cars. I want to walk to work. I want to be part of going to live music, walking to restaurants, jumping on the bike trail on their bikes. And I think we have finally started to realize the value when you look at the entire central city from downtown to midtown of what urban living means, that there's a higher level of expectation of, I don't want to be driving 45 minutes each way. You know what? I'd like to be part of this renaissance of what living in a capital city and in an urban downtown means. And I think that we're seeing that play out in ways we hadn't expected by some of the, we're seeing growth in population coming to Sacramento that is excited about being part of kind of the future.
There's a lot of things that we take for granted because we live here, right? And sometimes when it's right in front of you, you don't see it the same way. And to me, food and agriculture is one of those things. I think for a long time, Sacramento didn't want to be defined as an ag town, but you look at what surrounds this region, 1.5 million acres of active farmland, more than 165 crops coming out of the ground. If you eat sushi anywhere in the country, 99% of the sushi rice comes from Sacramento. 80% of the nation's caviar comes out of Sacramento, which people are always shocked by. When you look at the water tower that used to say, "Welcome to the city of trees," that's a great thing, right? Sacramento is the city of trees. But there are 30 city of trees across the United States, including 7 of them in California. And surely we are worthy of not sharing an identity with 29 other cities. What we do better than anybody else in the U.S. is grow food. And so much of the food we grow feeds the rest of the country. So that's where Farm to Fork came from, being proud of what's grown in this region, being proud of what we give to communities across this country. And you think about the diversity of the crops, you think about the jobs it creates, not only from the farmers and the produce distributors, but the restaurants, the servers, anybody in between. There's a reason that Sacramento was the 5th city in the country that was recognized in the Michelin Guide. It was New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, and Sacramento. Wow. They didn't do that because they thought we were charming, right? They did that because our food is legit. And our food is legit because it's locally sourced, and you can't get a freshness anywhere more than you can get it in Sacramento.
Thinking about what we have here in Placer County, we have some major cities. Maybe you can give us an overview, Shante, if you don't mind, as to what's in Placer County in terms of cities and districts. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So we have 5 districts. My district is all of Lincoln, Sheridan, the rural areas out there, and then West Roseville. Everything west of Fittymint and north of Baseline is my district. And I'm District 2. District 1 is Bonnie Gore, and she is all of Roseville, most of Roseville, and she has West Roseville south of Baseline. District 3 was recently redistricted. It's all of Rockland, parts of Loomis, Penryn, Newcastle. District 4 is Granite Bay and parts of Roseville. And District 5 is Tahoe all the way down to Auburn and parts of Newcastle.
So it's a lot of geography. There's about 400,000 people, I believe, maybe give or take, in Placer County. And I always feel like what makes a community is the people. How would you describe, and maybe I'd say this to either one of you, how would you describe the people of Placer County as opposed to maybe other areas, and what are we known for?
You want to go first since I got to chat?
You guys live here. I'm not going to describe the
But you're seeing people move here, so you got an influx of Bay Area.
Let me say this, influx of Bay Area, but according to Census Bureau stats, the number one sender in terms of county is usually Sacramento. And so maybe the Bay Area total, can add up to more. But I think sometimes my experience in Placer is that there's this thing like a little bit of tension with Sacramento sometimes. And I just remind you, hey, a lot of your brethren come from Sacramento.
Well, I would say now, knowing that Bosch is coming to town, which is a huge catch, I think that's going to pave the way for a lot of things that we probably didn't anticipate, all the way down to just our mom and pop businesses, and our wine and ale trail, I think, is such a beautiful little gem that we have in Placer County, where we actually have some good wines and just a nice experience for families to go out on a weekend and, sit with their kids and enjoy beautiful weather out in the country, but be 10 minutes from Lincoln or 15 minutes from Roseville,
The most valuable thing that I think maybe sometimes we overlook this at times is the most valuable resource that we have is the people. The people that live in our communities are so valuable, and to recognize that and to respect that, I think, is huge. You mentioned diversity. Maybe I'll throw this at both of you. Maybe we'll start with you, Vicki. Is the diversity if we look at the county as a whole, we've got certain cities that that sort of represent the landmarks. We have Davis, Woodland. What are there? Winters,
West Sac.
West Sac. Yeah, sorry, West Sac. I didn't mean to forget you. And there may be others that I may be forgetting. So you two are the experts in YOLO, but what describe the diversity that exists overarching in the Yolo County? Maybe we'll start with you, Vicki. On
Well,
that.
I think Yolo County has about 220,000 people,
Okay.
the population of 220,000. Of that, I'd say about 40% of those are Hispanic or have Hispanic heritage.
Oh, in Yolo, there's
and,
that high of a percentage of Hispanic. Okay.
Maybe 35, but close to 40, I would think. We represent everywhere from a smaller rural communities, Knights Landing, Yolo, Clarksburg. We all come all the way down to the River Delta. I think it's a very large and diverse county. We have a diverse population. We have, as you stated, UC Davis. We have Woodland Community College, and we encompass a large agricultural community. I think a lot of the opportunities are in the ag field. There are over close to 200 businesses related to ag and technology with agricultural businesses. We have a tremendous amount of industry that we have in Woodland, a large population of industrial warehouses. West Sac is part of Yolo County, which we now have the Sac River Cats, and now we have the Oakland A's.
Got the Oakland A's now, yes. I forgot about that
so
for a second.
we have a lot to offer. I think that's the exciting thing about Yolo County. We have a very diverse community. It's pretty widespread. I think a lot of that is surrounded by agricultural fields, though. And so we provide not only products for our communities, but I think we have a global impact. It's the products that come out of Yolo County feed the world. So I think that is one of our important roles, is to impact not only the United States, but we have a global market that is very impressive.
Absolutely. So let's stay on this topic a little bit. When we think about the people of Yolo County, Davis, West Sac, and Woodland tend to make up probably a lot of that 200,000+. Sure. How would we contrast the different the diversity among people in those different geographies? Because Davis, when I think of Davis, I sort of have one, I'll call it a stereotype type in my mind. West Sac is different, and Woodland is way different. So how would you, I guess, separate those three?
So West Sac, people live in West Sac but work in Sacramento, or live in West Sac and come out toward Davis and Woodland, right? So it's a little bit of a mix. It really bridges the two counties. At Davis, I think you have to count the students in the population. We have over 40,000 students, right? And so of those, over 80% come from California, but all over California. This year, we are just shy of what's called a Hispanic serving institution. So you have to have 25% of your incoming class be of Hispanic descent. We're at 24 and change, right? So Asian population is big at UC Davis, and then a small international population, but still significant to the mission of the university. And then obviously, Black, Native, Caucasian. So it's a nice mix. We'd like to increase our numbers in a couple of areas, and we're really working to do that because you look at the social and generational impact, right, of social capital, somebody getting a degree and what that does for the family and the community, right? Mm-hmm. So that's really important. So Davis, you're going to have a lot of professors that live there, right? But you also have a number of folks that are in the agricultural community who live there. And then Woodland, I would say, a lot of it is agricultural, but there's so much building out there right now. I know a lot of our faculty and deans have landed in Woodland because Davis is really hard to get into housing there.
You mentioned the growth and how you don't want to grow too fast. There's a balance that you want to find. How do you find that balance, and what is the growth causing? What kind of people are moving in, and how is that affecting lifestyle?
It's interesting is that the folks that are moving in are the ones that are the first to push back on any new housing.
Oh, it's the new people are saying not in my backyard or what have you.
A lot, because they recognize that they don't want to lose what they're drawn to. And so once again, it's just a really challenging balance of making sure that we're relevant, because also we don't want to be a ghost town. Towns that never stay the same, or that stay the same and never want to look at anything new, are the places that die. And so I'm really proud of the fact that El Dorado County has found that and continues to find that balance of staying relevant and compelling while preserving what we love, as far as our historic roots and our precious way of life. And you mentioned Placerville. I think it's really important to recognize that of all the kind of golden chain historic hometowns, Placerville is unique, and you sense it when you're there, but you don't recognize that what makes it different is that it's a real American working hometown. It is not just a tourist destination. It's a place where the local community comes in the mornings and grabs coffee with their buddies. It's a place where you go to the bank, you go to the pharmacy on Main Street and get your pharmacy and goods and your gifts, and you go to the hardware store and pick up your nuts and bolts and maybe a new Yeti. And so it's a place that not only where tourists love and we have vibrant restaurants, but it's a place where the locals come to shop, and that makes a difference.
So El Dorado Hills, Placerville, you mentioned Shingle Springs. Can you maybe give us these areas by like size? Which ones are, I guess, most impactful to El Dorado County?
So I think our biggest, so there's only 2 incorporated cities within El Dorado County. So Placerville, which is 10,000-ish?
Yeah, a little over 10,000 people.
And then City of South Lake Tahoe, which is 20+ thousand-ish folks. And then by area, El Dorado Hills is probably 40,000, 50,000 people at this point, unincorporated area. As you come up, Cameron Park is probably about 16 to 20,000 people. Get to Placerville, 10,000, then up to Polk Pines, which I think is about 4,000 to 5,000 folks in that community, which is a beautiful community if you want to get up higher elevation, if you like snow.
So, Rana, what are the most valuable assets in Roseville as you see them? So he talked about Bosch. Obviously, we recruited what will be a major employer. We've got the leadership, which has been discussed. What else?
I'd say we have a great mix of industries. It's not just one industry. So Bosch being the largest investment in manufacturing in California in over 40 years is impressive that we were able to attract that to Roseville. And that really speaks not to just the forward thinking, but also the good planning that we've done. We planned for growth. And I think that's one thing that the city of Roseville did really well. And building on the tradition, the core values, the leadership that we have, looking forward, I would say, between the healthcare industry that's doing really well and expanding in Roseville. You have Sutter, you have Kaiser. So our healthcare industry is thriving here and growing to accommodate also the growth in the population. You also have the retail. We have one of the top 10 flagships of Westfield in the Roseville Galleria. So if you look at the combination of industry between retail, manufacturing, healthcare, I think we have a healthy mix of industries that make our community really great. And you have to add the business practices, right? So when we attract businesses to the area, I know our mayor mentioned Roseville Electric being a city-owned utilities. We have lower utility rates. It's a great tool to attract companies and retain them in our region. You add to that the easier permitting process. I worked in LA for many years. It's like going here, finding who to talk to. Here, do you pick up the phone as a chamber and say, we have a business that needs help with permits? The city is on it. They're willing to help. They're willing to work with you. So I feel that there's a lot of pieces that come together and make industry thrive in our region. And it's very exciting to be part of that transformation because I feel we've grown and we still have some growth ahead of us. And to be part of that next step of what's ahead for Roseville was Bosch and the Galleria's plans that are going to also have some expansion. So I think there's a lot of exciting things for us to celebrate in the near future.
We're a full service city, right? So in 1912, we got Roseville Electric. 1906 was the first water franchise, and in 1934, we bought Roseville Water Works. So that gave us a competitive advantage. Our staff has a culture of can-do, right? During the pandemic, our IT department lifted it up and went totally remote so that we could continue to help the building industry process their permits. So there's this can-do cultural attitude amongst our employees. And then we have this partnership a public-private partnership that is incredible. We have this really entrepreneurial spirit, and I think Andy Klein from Monk's Cellar.
I do.
And he told me the story of when he looked at the building in 2013 that is now Monk's Cellar. And actually his wife told me, she goes, "Are you sure about this?" Because Vernon Street in 2013 was not what it is becoming today. Mm-hmm. And, Monk's Cellar will celebrate their 10th anniversary. So it's that courage of entrepreneurship and investment in our city, much like you're doing across the street from City Hall.
Well, Robin, this is all about you and the business community then. You're driving revenue and keeping the bills paid for the rest of us.
Well, I'd love to take all the credit for that, but I really can't. I mean, and Ashley knows this. I mean, I want to hats off to Ashley and the Realtor Group. Her in the leadership role as president of PCAR is just amazing. And I will say how we benefit, Mark, from the business community standpoint is by having healthy cities, having healthy realtors, having healthy people that are involved in their community. That's how this works. And being able to connect businesses that might be in need of something to the right places, right? That we're a connector. That's what the chamber is. We're a connector between, folks who want to come and see Ashley and live in Rockland, to come and see Jill, public safety. I mean, all of these things are really integrated together. Yeah. And when we're all, when all those things are going well, and they are, when we have hiccups, we can rally and we can really make things connect people to services, and we can really rally around our business community. Yes, absolutely.
I mentioned that I feel like winning in your family and business in a city, it's all about leadership, or at least it begins with that. So Allie, your city manager, she's
amazing.
She's amazing. She's been in the job a couple of years, 3 years.
Yeah, and doing so well.
Yeah, so she's brought fresh perspective to this town that's been around since before the gold rush. And then you mentioned public safety, which I was thinking of Rustin Banks and the leadership that you have at the police department. That, you just, and I don't know the fire chief's name off the top of my head, but those two have really impressed me.
Oh, and you met them both, absolute stars. I mean, they're really, really good.
Absolutely. I see a lot of people that are relocating from the Bay Area wanting to come to Folsom or El Dorado Hills specifically because of the proximity to Sacramento. They can go work in downtown and take a 25-minute car ride and be in Folsom and be door to door. So we're seeing a lot of people who maybe don't want to have that downtown lifestyle, but still want to live within a close enough proximity to their workplace, relocating to Folsom. Even people from Granite Bay and Roseville. I mean, the location is fantastic. You're right at the heart of everything. You're on the border of Placer County and El Dorado County. So you're kind of like the little centerfold of two other counties.
All right, I'll circle back to the business community, but since you're bringing up, housing and why people want to live where. You two obviously have chosen that as a place to live and raise your families. Your wife Evangeline is in the real estate mortgage business as well. So what are you seeing in terms of like why people love, why it's such a great place to live?
Yeah, it's instantaneously. It's the things that don't show up on most reports. So our person-on-person crime is extremely low. I think Lincoln is the only one that has a lower person-on-person crime, and they're about, 46,000 people. Person-on-property crime is extremely low as well. So people that want to have a safe, clean place to live, Folsom is an ideal location. Then you mix in the overriding concept that we're there all together to have a great community. So having our small businesses and the philanthropy that Adrian does is amazing. And there are a lot of us, right? Yep, there's a lot 100%. Of us. It's not just us or just the two of us here. There's so many people that we've created that culture of giving back. And it's really, really important. So in addition to the physical attributes and where we're located, is that it's a great combination. And then you put in the water features. Not many communities have a lake and have a river that run down the middle of it. Yeah. So and then we also have some other waterways, creeks and things.
The bike paths.
All of the paths.
We come from all over the region to go use the bike paths or paddleboard or, you've got great shopping. So, I mean, it's really a destination. But in terms of living there, obviously the local residents get to use this, and we sort of, from across the region, we encroach on you and come in, and hopefully we don't bug you too much, but we like it. Some of the things that we do is we go in and watch, like my granddaughter or grandson plays a baseball, or you guys have you've got good parks, you got a great park system, you've got great schools. I mean, can you elaborate on like what it is like in terms of like living there and why it's such a good place? Safety, obviously, to me that's probably number one, but also what's in it for the the people that live there.
Yeah, why raise a family there?
Yeah.
Well, from an amenity, so like my wife grew up there, and her whole family's been there for quite some time. Moving from Yolo County, we're trying to find a place where the schools are amazing, just overall safety, and that's really what we were getting when we moved to Folsom. Now, just for transparency purposes, I am in El Dorado County now.
That's okay.
Not
we'll forgive
too
you.
far, but my business is still in Folsom, and I love Folsom. It'll always be my community. But it was great because you just get that sense of community 24/7, and you can be out late and not worry about something bad that could happen to you.
Yeah.
Right?
So both of you are very familiar with Ranch Cordova, and you've talked about assets, which are a big part of what makes something valuable, right? So the people are an asset, the talent is an asset, the businesses are an asset, and there's a lot of other assets. So I want to get into a little bit of that. Who's lived, I know you live in El Dorado Hills, you live in Ranch Cordova, right? So we've lived in this area for a while. Let's talk about some of the assets that are just more like natural assets that exist in the Ranch Cordova city. So maybe, Diane, if you don't mind, maybe just like what things are attractive about Ranch Cordova from an asset standpoint in terms of like natural assets that you have?
Let me answer it in a way of like, for example, we are right on a major thoroughfare with Highway 50 corridor, and we have a great relationship up and down the corridor and serve and work in partnership there. There are 5 exits and on-ramps into the city. Trains can go through. We're right next to an airport, which very large planes can land and do that. We're off of the floodplain. And we had a big ingress of folks right after the Loma Prieta earthquake because we're also off the fault line. So those kinds of, you're talking about literal natural assets, the ground is good.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, but then we also have educational institutions, we have good schools, we have a wide range of housing, we have a wide range of businesses. The city has taken on the fact that we are putting fiber down in the entire city. So for residents and for business. So those are the kinds of assets that we can offer.
Yeah. So you live, Amanda, in the city, and I think when I think of what makes me want to live in a certain place, for me it's about the people. But like, what makes you love living in Ranch Cordova? What do people see in Ranch Cordova that is so special in terms of making you want to live there?
Sure. So one of the other natural assets, if you have rafted the American River, you have rafted the length of Rancho Cordova. It starts you at Sunrise and it drops you off at Hagen Park. So in terms of fun, if you've ever been on the American River on any given Saturday in a tube, you've had some fun.
Nice.
And that's primarily where it is. We talked a little bit about our growth, and as part of that, we have bike trails throughout our community. We also have a really large wetland preserve area, and that provides a really natural buffer for. We actually had a Cub Scout that got out and did this project to view birds and different estuaries we have throughout the city. So it also has that nature preserve feel that a lot of people get out and they watch our detention basins, which have now become homes to otters and all sorts of other things that people just really enjoy. The other thing is our community has always been built on partnerships. We also partner with, in addition to Diane at the Chamber, with the Cordova Community Council, and they're kind of our fun organization. So when Rancho Cordova became a city, we always use 4th of July as like our birthday. So we do 2 days of fireworks, not just one.
2 days. So the 3rd and the 4th, the 4th and the 5th?
And the 4th.
Oh, you start early.
Yeah, we start early. We go big. We love fireworks. So we have a Christmas tree lighting. There's fireworks for that. Any actually time we could shoot off fireworks as a community, we do. We have a lot of free events for our families. So we have Kids Day in the Park. And I think one of the other big ones that's really interesting to us is we have International Fest or iFest. So we celebrate all the various diversity that is located in Rancho Cordova and in the surrounding area. And why we think that's so key also from a business perspective is that diversity brings in diversity of thought, background. And so when companies are coming in, they're looking for people who have new ideas, different perspectives, different way of looking at things. And so really Rancho Cordova and the Sacramento region is where you see that diversity, and we shine in it.
I think of Elk Grove as maybe the best place to grow a business. I mean, I'm here in Rockland, which has got really good leadership as well, business friendly, entrepreneurial friendliness to it. But Elk Grove is kind of like at another level compared to everything else in the Sacramento region, in my opinion. And we can talk about some of that specifically. Yeah, I mean, I say that. I love you, Roseville, Rockland, Folsom.
Yes,
love
I love
you
them
guys.
too.
But sometimes some things stand out from even a distance, right? I don't live in Elk Grove. I'm sitting here, 30, 40 miles away, and going, wow, what you guys are doing for entrepreneurs all across the region is really special. We'll get into a little bit of that in a second, but I'm kind of wondering, is the council, it's really business friendly? Is that where it starts, or is it kind of incorporated through management?
It does start with that. I mean, as policymakers, you have to have that business mindset, right? If you're not in business, spills out into the policies you adopt and the conversations that you have with your city manager, like Daryl was alluding to. And so I think from the get-go, you mentioned all these things now, and it's interesting. I'm looking at your sports paraphernalia in the background, right? It's like any team, right, that nobody notices them till they start winning a series of games, right? And they do it over time and become a dynasty. 10 years ago and beyond, Elk Grove was known as what? Sprawl. It was known as farmland, too close to they would say South Sacramento. I mean, it was that was in a negative connotation, right? And that's what they talked about. We put our heads down and we did our thing. The very first day, with Daryl's leadership too, we adopted that day one permitting for small businesses, stuff like that. So anyway, that's the recipe, right? We have a great cohesive team at the council level who works very well with the staff, and we've done it over a long period of time.
Enabling these conditions, that's really, I like the way you phrase that, but you're also proactive. So I want to talk a little bit about the business, and then we'll talk about like quality of life and that kind of thing. So from an enabling of business, of course, Apple decided to locate there. Other people are opening up business there, but you've created the nice conditions, but you guys are writing checks to entrepreneurs. Like, I'm sitting here going, that's impressive. And you're not only doing that, you're doing that, and you're helping businesses even outside of Elk Grove, which is really special. So can you elaborate on like the kinds of things that you do proactively?
Yeah, we do write some checks. We do that very carefully because it's taxpayer money. But yeah, Darren and I were talking about this. We've built one of, if not the best set of business support programs, incentives, right, is what we call them in my business, probably in the state. We have programs to support culinary arts. We have programs to support startups. We have programs to support Main Street small businesses. We have a fee deferral program because fees are high in California, and we recognize that. I mean, you put all that in the wash, and we have programs that will support large tax-generating businesses, and we're not afraid. So a lot of cities just don't have those programs, and I through my travels in the state, I encourage cities like you should have those kinds of programs. It gets you into conversations. It can help close deals when you're trying to attract companies. It can help keep companies in town. Our number one job is not business attraction; it's business retention, and we use those programs as much to help our existing businesses and keep them thriving and expand them than we do attracting. Attracting business gets all the headlines.
Okay, so what do we have? Let's talk strengths. What are the strengths of Sacramento? If what are you hearing out there? What do you feel and know instinctively?
I mean, I'll just restate it again, like alignment, right? I mean, we really do. What's really been this is a really cool thing when you see it happen in real life, right? Many places
if a company comes in, they go to, and Barry tells the story all the time, right? It's like, hey, they go to one town and that town badmouths all the other towns. Then they go to the next town, that town badmouths.
Right. Yeah, we're talking about like Rockland and Roseville and Elk Grove. Shouldn't they be collaborative?
Exactly. And so we have that now. My understanding is that that hasn't always been the case. And when you see that in markets, it completely turns off all outside investment, right? Because you can pretty much imagine they're going to talk to everybody, and everybody says everybody else is terrible. Mm-hmm. Well, then you're going to walk away with a really negative perception of the market, right? So that alignment really works well.
Yeah, you turn that. I mean, that's just an example of turning an opportunity into a strength, right? So that's and that happened over the last 7 or 8 years.
So you got to get that story right? And what we're working on right now is in February we're going to launch this new regional brand, the first ever brand for that sort of positions the region as a place to do business that really will be unified. We have a lot of that going on already in the market, but we want to give people more tools to communicate that value proposition, right? So that's a big initiative of ours, and that's something that I think is going to even enhance that strength of ours over the next few years. Another strength that we have is that in many ways the overall sort of economic picture is shifting in our direction.
Thanks for watching today's show. My goal for every episode is that you find a takeaway, something tangible you can use in your business today. And if you have a comment about a favorite takeaway, feel free to put it in the box below. And if you have a topic that you'd like me to bring up on the show, don't forget to let me know. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to learn more about entrepreneurship. Because at Haney Biz, we are always by your side.